probably go up to 25 past, let's not tell everyone. Now no pressure, but this is the panel that I've been most excited about since I knew that you were all coming. So thank you very much for being here. Right, I'm going to give you all a little intro. So, on the end we have a woman who could surely solve all the emotional problems of everyone in this room by giving us all a big hug and telling us everything's going to be all right. So it's Mama Scully, Sheila Larken. Fox Mulder ever loved. Someone he definitely should have called back sooner, naughty boy, Mrs. Tina Mulder, Rebecca Toolan. And then a man who needs to hear of a potentially terminal illness before he sends you a birthday card. Who thinks that crazed alien-obsessed dude is never going to be good enough for you? It's the big brother we all love to hate. Emphasis on the love, it's Bill Scully Jr. himself. Cuts him off. And then the bearer and still the owner of the iconic crystal choker. She's wearing it. A woman unafraid to call Mulder on his emotional insufficiencies. And I've just been informed by Sheila, Maggie Scully's favourite daughter. It's Melinda McGraw. Right. Yes, thank you all so much for being here. Have you done many cons? Or is this our first for all of you?
This is my second.
Second.
This is my first.
But we've met first, and Sheila, sorry. Oh, you've got your mic there as well. It's on.
Hello? Two.
It is on, yeah. Yes. Oh, even two. Okay, but not never all together, right?
No.
So this is a Phile Fest exclusive. All the family.
I had never met Pat until yesterday.
Oh.
Never met his
sister.
We're just bringing the Scully siblings together. I love it.
I was dead by the time he showed up. He got mad.
I mean, that is a bad brother.
Fox Mulder is responsible.
Wait a minute, what did you say about my son?
It's Mulder versus Scully. It's like the Montagues and the Capulets over here.
For what?
For her death.
That's right. No, that's my thing. Oh, is it? So sorry, I didn't mean to steal your bit.
So, but Rebecca, you've had a big birthday recently. Is this right?
Oh my God, yes.
So you've been out celebrating.
Oh yes, I'm going to celebrate all year because a friend of mine said, if it ends in 0, you get to celebrate all year.
That's very true. Well, we're glad you're here though. Hopefully this is part of your year of celebrations. And so Pat, I understand your name is actually William.
It is William, yes.
And your father's name is William.
My father's name is William.
And your grandfather's name is William.
And my grandfather's name is William. And my nephew's name is William.
There we go. So anybody giving Chris Carter shit for naming so many characters William in the show, let's just say, here we go, a real life example. It can happen. It can happen. So, Melinda, so your career started in London, I understand.
Yes, that is true.
Tell me more about me.
I trained to be a classical actress, but I think that everyone here trained for the stage. Yeah. So I trained in London at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art.
Ooh, rather. I didn't know.
With some people you might recognize. Clive Owen was in my class, and Ralph Fiennes was above me, and well, many other very notable talents. Yes, and so I started on stage and doing Shakespeare and then other things in London for several years before I came back to the States to do on-camera work.
Oh, and I understand you and Sheila actually went to the same college, is that right?
Yes.
Yes, we're
Not at the
sisters.
same time, but
Bennington sisters, yes,
Bennington.
in Vermont.
yeah.
Rebecca, so you're from Iowa, yes?
Well, I actually grew up in Minnesota.
Oh!
But my father took a job at the University of Iowa and tore me away, bleeding and crying. But, you know, I missed Minnesota, but I adapted. And I left Iowa in 1966, so I wasn't there for a long time.
But you spent some time in London too, right?
Yeah, I did. Up first I went to Brazil, and and because I thought I could do theater there with friends, but my Portuguese was sorely lacking. So I went on to London, where I thought I might continue my training, but I had already trained in everything I could find there. So I just began to work, and met my first husband there. Warning, actors sometimes fall in love with the characters that they're playing. Obviously, it's not a good plan.
And Pat, so I was looking through your IMDb credits, and I feel like you've been in every TV show known to humankind.
If only that were true. But I've been in a lot of detective shows and whatnot.
I'm wondering, what's your secret, would you say, to just keeping that work coming in?
Oh man, I don't know. You just keep auditioning and pray that they give it to you, I think. But I started out playing a lot of bad guys because there's only one Matlock, right? There's only one Hunter. So in the end, there were a lot of guys to kill, and I was that guy. I got killed a lot. And eventually, I moved into. I was a sex offender lots of times.
On screen.
I played a lot of military guys. I played bad cops a lot, and corrupt judges, and on-the-take senators. It's a valuable judgment.
Weren't you both in Mad Men? Is that right? You were.
Yeah, not at the same time.
No.
Yeah. Never met there either. Yeah.
That was a good adventure. That was a fun adventure.
Yeah, really fun.
Yeah.
So Melinda, originally though, you went down to play Melissa. That wasn't the original idea, right? To bring you on as the sister. I heard they were toying with bringing you on to replace Gillian, maybe, I think, just temporarily, while she went to have Piper.
Yes. I am only speaking for myself. This is how I remember it. So, but I do remember when they realized that she was going to need maternity leave. They thought about bringing in a replacement for her for several weeks or however long it was going to end up being. And so I was working with Glenn and Jim on The Commish, and they went on to the X-Files, and so they recommended me to Chris, and I met with Chris Carter, and we had a wonderful meeting. And then they kind of thought about it and thought it was a little strange to bring on another redhead to replace a redhead, and that it would be a little on the nose and also hard for the audience to kind of understand, like, is she supposed to be her, or is she... So they decided actually to make that character a man, which ended up being Krychek, my then boyfriend, named Lee. And they said, well, what do you think about playing her sister? And I said, that's great. And so it was very collaborative, and we got to talk about what kind of character she would be. And I thought it would be interesting if she was very, very different, almost like the opposite of Dana. So that's how that all happened.
Oh, well, so you did have a lot of input then in how the character of Melissa would be.
Yes, I mean, we shared ideas when we got to talk about that. You know, maybe she was actually a psychic, and it was one of the reasons that Dana was so skeptical, because it was just a little much.
She's just rebelling against
a little much.
Okay, so I mean, it was such a shame. Yeah, it was such a shame that you had such a short run on the show, because it was so wonderful to see not only the differences between them, but actually that relationship. Because I feel like Melissa was really Scully's only confidant that we saw. Like, even poor Maggie, she doesn't really let in that much. So it was a real shame. I mean, you were fabulous, but the character, she was wonderful. So it was a shame it was a short run.
Yes, it was sad.
That's sad.
It was very, 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 very sad. And I'm still grieving. And of course, it was terrible. It was a terrible day, and Nick is the one that had to shoot me, and we were still dating. And night. But it was very disappointing. But then because I had gotten on the show, and back then they didn't let you cross networks. They didn't let you do that. So if you were regular on one show, you couldn't be a guest star recurring on another show. And then that show didn't go, so I got to come back as a ghost and as a memory. So at least I got to live on in a supernatural world. A show like the X-Files can do that. So
exactly. Nobody's ever really dead on the X-Files, as we've seen.
I'm dead.
Well, only until it ever came back. So I'm wondering, I knew for me, Melissa was hugely influential, so only there for a short time, but just that conversation they have in the hospital, I think in the scene where you're, well, certainly the episode in which you were introduced, which must
The Blessing
have been the Blessing Way. Well done. Pop quiz. Where you're talking about, you know, we hide people away, we hide death away, and death is perfectly natural. That really struck a chord with me, and I've remembered that all throughout my life. I think, yeah, Melissa, I think, really had a huge impact, and Bill as well, I think, is the same. So, I mean, they really both are still now alive in the fandom, and like in fan fiction, they really pop up all the time. There's a lot of rich ground there. I'm just wondering about both of you and why you think those roles were so impactful.
Speaking only for Bill Scully, we need an antagonist, you know, and I provided pushback to Mulder, and people disliked Bill Scully greatly for that, and so you know, I think that's why Bill Scully lives on, because people hate him quite a lot. But I think, you know, you have to, if you look at Bill Scully in context, the audience members get to see the show. There are aliens. You get to see them. Aliens exist in the show. They exist in your mind. Bill Scully doesn't see the aliens. Bill Scully is a military guy. His dad was a military man. Bill Scully sees Mulder, and he sees a guy who had a hand in having his sister killed and is a threat to his other sister and to his family. So I think Bill Scully is right.
Justice for Bill.
He's certainly righteous.
Self-righteous.
What about Melissa, do you?
Well, I think there's a quality of, I mean, like Pat is saying, you know, there's an archetypal element to the X-Files. I think that's part of why it lives on. There's a lot of archetypal treasures being mined there. And I think in Melissa, they could write, I mean, they wrote her so well, she could be a softer, nurturing part of kind of what the Mulder character was doing, which is really questioning, but she was more philosophical and more certain. And rather than questioning, she was really counseling from this spiritual place. Life is a path. It's really very simple. One step. And love is the way. I mean, it's a, you know, she was very pure, but also passionately being able to try to push through with arguments. So she was smart enough to be able to get through. And I think it drove Dana crazy, and I know it drove Bill crazy. I don't think they had too much understanding, probably, if they had had a CDL. But, so it was a really good counterweight to find a softer side of the I want to believe question, the spiritual questions, you know, the beautiful, loving, nurturing questions. And I think she's kind of almost like a, going to a tarot reader or something, or a therapist that is a little, but sisterly, not maternal, but sisterly, and has your back. I think she really had Dana's back.
Yeah. It was a really lovely relationship to see on screen, even just for that brief time. Right, Sheila, coming back to you. So you're a licensed therapist, yeah?
Yes.
That's
yes.
what you're awesome, yeah. Yeah, okay. Wait, I bet you are a wonderful therapist. I'm going to take myself online.
Yes, I am.
So I like to see a self-confident woman. Yeah, so, I mean, I've seen the interview that you did with the 25-year, the retrospective ladies, Lauren and Carly.
Yes.
And you were talking about Maggie Scully in there and just saying how she's completely different to you. So I was curious, what are those differences that you see between yourself and Maggie?
Oh my God. I always saw her as, you know, if she wasn't a mother of all these children, she probably would have been a nun. And I say that in the best of terms. I mean, I just think she had that core belief. I think she functioned for others. I think she was highly intelligent. I envision her, you know, going to Mount Holyoke and teaching some theology of some kind. And it was just, no matter what happened to the family. I mean, I think if what happened to Margaret Scully happened to me, I would find it hard to wake up in the morning and walk, you know, but Margaret Scully had God, and that kept her going. So I think that's the main difference. Yeah.
Sheila, it looks like you're wearing a rosary on your neck.
I actually made this thing.
Oh, wow.
But, you know, I think that's the principle. I mean, I'm probably far more like the character of you know, Melissa than of Margaret Scully. You know.
Okay.
Just an old hippie.
Yeah. Oh, I love an old hippie.
You do that well.
Now, actually, interestingly, so I understand that Rebecca, you also auditioned for the role of Margaret Scully, is that right?
I did.
Yeah.
But
I didn't know that.
Look what happened.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, actually, I did look more like David. This is my excuse.
Oh, okay.
You're a marvelous actress. It didn't hurt to lose to you. If you lose to the best, it's, you know, it's no shame.
But I understand, Sheila, and now this is going to sound...
I have to say that
Yeah.
we, in the course of my life in Vancouver, we have auditioned
Yeah, a number of
over
times.
and over and over again. Most of the time, she gets the job.
I'm not sure that's true.
It's
but
true. It's true.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, but I don't know if everybody is aware, though, Sheila, that you're actually married to Bob Goodwin.
Yes.
One of the producers. So now this is going to sound rude, so I just want to say, it was interesting to me, I heard that you said that you also auditioned for the role.
Yes.
Like in my head, I kind of just thought that Bob went, oh, well, you know who would be good for this is Sheila, and kind of bring you in. And not like, oh, it's just nepotism and that's why you got the role, because I think you are absolutely perfect in that role.
No, my husband would actually not bring me in because he's so against nepotism, even though we have worked throughout, I mean, before we were married, we worked together. We worked on Movies of the Week when he was the producer, but it was never him that brought me in. It was always the director who brought me in. And in this case, it was David Nutter, who I had met years and years before, auditioning in Los Angeles, and he wanted me for the part, and then the producers wanted someone else, so he never. And then when The Mother came up, he thought, well, how about Sheila? And, you know, and Robert went, I don't want to be any part of this. No. And we thought it was just a, you know, one-off. I don't know if it's true for all of you. We all thought, well, you know, I'm the guest star and I'm never coming back, and, you know.
Well, that means you're good if you come in for the one and they want you back.
Yeah.
So, no, you are perfectly cast.
And that was one of my favorite shows also, the Beyond the Sea. I loved that show.
Yes. Oh, yes. Favorite episode, yeah. Definitely. Oh, so. Oh, I guess we're coming that one. Right. Oh, Rebecca. So, we had a conversation at dinner the other night where Rebecca just suddenly appeared at our table and joined us, which, I mean, was wonderful. I don't know what happened, but it was brilliant. But you were saying your son had sent you some fanfic, and that you were not really very pleased with the way that fans have interpreted Tina Mulder.
Oh, well, I didn't inspect all of it. My son sent only one site to me, and I didn't go to any others, because in this particular site, they really felt that Tina was a very bad mother. And I know they weren't criticizing me, but I did take it a little personal.
But I mean, what do you think about Tina Mulder then? So,
well, I think she's a dignified, wounded woman, and she's had so much loss in her life, talking about surviving and continuing to lose her daughter in the fashion she did, and then divorce, and then death of her husband, and then never seeing Fox, or rarely seeing Fox. You know, which also made me wonder why she committed suicide with the diagnosis of cancer, because it was, well, they thought it was an incurable cancer, but with a little background research, it apparently is curable. And she didn't seem the type, really, to take her life. She was so strong, although, I mean, maybe she just simply wore out. I could understand that. Yeah.
she just got sick of waiting for Fox to ring her back, I think.
He didn't write, he didn't call.
Oh, bless, thank you. So, Melinda, now I have to work really hard not to call you Melissa. Melinda. You've spoken about Melissa in the past as someone who is a little damaged. And you think Melissa's had mystical experiences and maybe some pain in her life. So I just wanted to explore more about that. And I was like, in your head, what was Melissa's backstory? What didn't we see on screen?
I kind of saw her as feeling like an alien in the family, even though I think that, you know, her mom, Margaret, really tried to keep her whole. And through the example of, I really think that Melissa and Margaret have a very special relationship. And a lot of unspoken kind of stuff, and we didn't get a lot of scenes together, but I always played it that she was protective in a way that knowing the world couldn't protect her, because I just think Melissa was born a sensitive, and probably I am not clairvoyant, but I am sensitive. Like I do feel, I get chills very easily, like from people's energy and stuff like that, and it sounds mystical, but I just think I'm just very sensory. But so I kind of relate to that, and I made it into more of a clairvoyance where she could see things. And so I decided that she saw things that she didn't know what they were or where they were when she was still young. So images of things happening. And in my mind, I always thought maybe later she would help them solve cases and stuff, and they might use her clairvoyance later.
I missed out on.
I didn't know she was gonna die. So I had a whole story that went on years and a spin-off.
Didn't we all?
So I thought, well, clairvoyance is it, but that's something that I just think is so fascinating, that they are people that see things, they dream things, so I think that she was just extremely sensitive and somewhat traumatized by those things until she was old enough to understand and really embrace it as a positive. But I think that for a lot of people that I know that are intuitives or psychics, it's a really rocky road because they don't know the boundaries, they don't know their boundaries. And it can also feel like schizophrenia or feel like madness or something really outside your control. So I think that she had to do a lot of self-discipline to kind of figure out, well, maybe there's a way I can turn this into a positive. I gotta let myself be a free spirit and lean into this. But I think she probably hid a lot of her actual experiences because she didn't want to be perceived as wacky, but she was kind of getting there when she could get into her power.
Yeah, be sort of more open about it.
I think there should be a spin-off, you know?
Yes! She's dead. At the very least, we'll get Melinda writing the fan.
She's dead. Okay.
You just want the word.
Might be a chance for Charles to finally appear.
Yes, the mysterious Charles. But Maggie as well, though, has dreams.
Nobody likes Charles. That's why he never got on the show. He's so annoying. You can't believe it. Even Mom hates Charles.
Is that true?
She would never say so, but we all knew.
It's obvious.
Because Maggie, though, has dreams. So I think in Ascension, where Scully gets abducted, she comes over and says, oh, I had a dream about this, that she was taken, but I didn't want to call her because she doesn't believe stuff like that. And Scully herself, of course, has a vision of her dad immediately after he's died, just before she gets the phone call from Maggie. So there's kind of a possibility that maybe all the Scully women are psychic.
Hold on, just a little moment.
It seems to be a theme. So speaking of the Scully women then, so Sheila, you've spoken of the relationship between Dana and Maggie, that there's a love there and an edge as well in that relationship, which is very common, I think, for a lot of mother-daughter relationships. So, and Maggie, I think, is sometimes trying to push things on Dana, which are maybe not quite appreciated, like we have Father McHugh getting subtly invited to dinner. So, coincidentally, you're sitting next to each other. Yeah, and you get the baby nurse, which turns out to be slightly ill-advised in the end. But she's her heart's definitely in the right place. One of my absolute favorite scenes, and just the most beautiful bit of acting, and just showing that, when you're an actor and you get the script, you're kind of counting your lines maybe, but actually that's not where the important work comes. So in Christmas Carol, where Dana's been at the dinner table all sulky with Bill and Tara, and she's doing the washing up, and you come over and you just say, what's wrong? And she's like, classic Scully, nothing. And you just don't say a word, and you put the tea towel down, and it's the hand on the hip and the turn. And just so much is communicated there, like, I am not going to put up with this war, Dana. You are going to tell me what's wrong. And then Julian immediately caving and then kind of confessing to you about finding out the infertility. So you just have this wonderful relationship, and I'm just wondering, sort of, I feel like did you have to work at that? Was it just easy to kind of step into between the two of you?
You know, I don't know if it's something that we planned, and Jillian and I didn't talk a lot. I mean, oftentimes actors will talk about what the scene is about. Jillian and I didn't do that. We just kind of got into the room, and I was about the same age as her mother. And I feel that whatever issues she has with her mother were right there. And I just stepped into that role. And there was always this little edge, and I can't explain it. And it's the child that, you know, I don't know how many of you are parents. I have 2 children. They're grown now. One of them is immediately huggable, which would have been like you. And then the other one is prickly, and you have to approach them differently. And Dana was the prickly child. You know, she was, and that's the way, you know, I could get close. But, you know, and does she love me? Does she hate me? What's going on with her? And then we just played it. You know, we never talked about it.
Wow.
So you play with what you receive.
Yes, you play, she's right, you play with what you receive.
Well,
Yeah.
and you played well, because it was always
Yeah.
wonderful. Always a treat to see Maggie Scully. Let me tell you, I was recently finishing my rewatch, and I got to home again, and I was coming home. I got stuck in London, so I had to come home on the really slow train, and I was watching home again, and there was the Maggie Scully death scene, and I was full on sobbing on the train in public, just having had all those years of, you know, I think probably a lot of us feel that, you know, maternal vibe coming from you. So to see you, you know, dying in the hospital bed, devastating for us all, am I right? So yeah, just a beautiful relationship to watch unfold. But speaking then of the prickly child, so I was thinking about this, and I feel like Scully, Dana, would actually be a really difficult family member. So you invite her over for Christmas vacation. She spends the whole time working. She falls asleep at your dining room table at 3 o'clock in the morning. It's memento mori. We get the scene where Maggie comes in and she's like, I'm sorry, you didn't tell me you had cancer? This is the kind of thing you want to mention, and that anger coming through.
I just want to talk about that scene as an actor.
Please.
If I remember, that's the one I walk in the scene and I throw my coat down. I remember saying to Rob Bowman, I want to play that scene that if she's alive, I'm going to kill her. Because I think that's the way most parents feel when children do something like that. And Rob Bowman said, go for it. And that's how that scene happened. And it was such a joy to play, yeah.
Oh, and they're perfect choice because, you know, the frustration and the anger is what you see, but you know that what's sitting under that is the worry because of the love.
Right.
So, no, it came out brilliantly. But yeah, so I think Scully just holds things way too close to her chest. So, you know, and again, having lost Melissa as perhaps her only confidant. So one of the submitted questions that we had, Casey, was, I've lost it. Right, so what does the Scully family say about Dana when she's not at the dinner table?
Oh, don't move. Damn.
Sadly, this is the portion where our recording drops out for a few minutes due to some technical issues with our camera. But our team member Rebecca Welch shared these notes with me, so I'm going to try and fill in the blanks. Note, this is paraphrased, so any errors in here are mine alone. When asked what the Scully family says about Dana when she's not at the dinner table, Melinda said, she's so much like Bill sometimes, she used to be funny. To which Pat Skipper replied, Mom, they're doing it again. And Sheila chimed in with, I think she needs a dog. Well, we all remember how that worked out. Rebecca Toolan shared a story about slapping David Duchovny across the face in the episode Demons and says David apparently joked that she needed to start pulling her punches or he'd hit her back because there were so many takes.
How dare you?
Melinda then joked that Rebecca is certified in stage combat, to which she replied, "I wish." Moderator Fiona asked Sheila if she could share a reaction to Scully giving up William, and Sheila thought it would have been very hard and advised we should talk to the writers. And we absolutely will talk to the fanfic writers about that, and if you've got any recs, hit us with them in the comments or on Twitter. On the topic of the revival, Rebecca said she didn't watch the new seasons, but Pat said he did. He said he found it a little rude that they didn't hire him, but had his name come up on the phone in Home Again.
Hey, Bill.
He said he thought Bill would want to be there if his mother was dying. Another great question for Pat was how Bill's relationship with Mulder would have changed over the years.
You're one sorry son of a bitch. Not a whole lot more to say.
Pat shared that he thought the relationship wouldn't change all that much, that some things are unforgivable. He doesn't think Bill and Mulder would have come to any understanding at all. Now we come to the part that I'm most disappointed we don't have on camera. Melinda explained what is at stake in the writers and actors strikes, the inequitable pay structure they face, and the new push by studios to pay background actors once to scan their bodies and use them without pay beyond that. It's such an important point, especially about the humanity in writing and acting and the concerns creators have about AI. As the crew from Audio Fanfic Podcast pointed out on their Twitter feed, Melinda's words had the whole audience fired up over the injustices and were clearly in support of the work of the creators who have given so much to the fandom over the years with their work. Our recording picked back up with Melinda encouraging the fans to take action and show their support.
And AI is going to happen fast and hard, and it's coming. It's going to be a bigger revolution than the internet. So we got to get ahead of it. You can talk to your legislators, you can talk to the studios, and you can talk to Netflix, and you write them and say, we want actors, damn it. Give us our actors, give us their lived experience, because we are telling stories so you don't feel alone, so we can be here touching each other's lives. So that is what we're fighting for, and we believe that it is elemental and important American function, and it's going to become an international labor movement. That's what we hope. So
Yes.
we need you. We need your support.
Thanks for homework, everyone. Right, so final, unless Sheila, did you have something to say?
That is why she's my favorite daughter.
So we're here celebrating 30 years of the X-Files. I want to know, so what did it mean to you then, and what does it mean to you now to have been a part of it?
Well then, it was marvelous to have a character that actually grew over several seasons, because that's a rare thing for us as actors. And it was more and more texture, more and more depth, more and more knowledge about your character, and so they could be more real. And that was very nice. Plus you got to know your colleagues, which always helps, because often you walk onto a set, you haven't even met each other, much less seen the set, which is very difficult. But this was entirely different. It was a joy to be part of the series. And it's really amazing to watch them again after all these years. I don't think I realized when we were making it what level of excellence we had going. We just didn't know. And you guys helped spread the word, of course. And when I think of what followed, X-Files must have been a huge influence, had to have been. Yeah, so I'm very proud of the levels that we helped create.
Well, my experience is so twofold, because I'm married to one of the people that created the show. I mean, so far beyond what I did as an actor. The look of the show, the movement of the show, the casting of the show, being able to create the impossible. I don't know if you guys know, but to be able to create the impossible in 8 days, what would have been truly a movie. The lighting of X-Files never existed before. I mean, my husband brought a picture of a Caravaggio painting, who's an Italian painting artist. It just has one slant of light in it, The Calling of Matthew. And he gave it to the DP and he said, I want this film to look like this. how the hell do we shoot in such darkness? Film had not even been created that would be sensitive enough to shoot in darkness, and X-Files was all in dark. I mean, just that alone made it look different than any other show. The characters, the natural way of speaking. When I first started working in TV was written like theater, and it was so over the top. And with being able to do X-Files, there was the naturalism of the acting, you know, so it was like really talking. And you didn't have to shout, and you didn't have to act big. And anyway, I'm just so proud of it, and I'm actually much more prouder than myself. I'm just incredibly proud of my husband's achievement, and he made the show.
Thank you very much. Now, what about our siblings here?
I get to follow that. Good God, you've done it again. You know, I was a young actor. It was cool to have a job. It was cool to go to Vancouver. It was cool to work with great actors. I only worked with, I think, 4 actors in my 5 episodes. You know, I worked with Sheila, and I worked with Tara, and I worked with David and Julia. And it was a great honor. It's always a great honor to work with great actors. I've been fortunate in my career to work with some truly remarkable actors who do things that you don't know what they're going to do, and you just have to respond. So it was quite thrilling working with David and Julian. I had a good time. Plus, I was in Vancouver, and I got to drink moose heads. And, you know, but really, it was a job. It was a TV show, man, and I did a lot of TV shows. I've learned one thing though over the last 2 days, you know, from you guys, because I don't, in all the hundreds of things I've been in, I've never been in a room like this where people are passionate about the product, about what we did, who have an opinion about who we were and what we were doing at the time. I think you guys bring it to life, and so it's been a great lesson for me to see the passion and to feel the passion. So I thank you all for that.
Absolutely.
Any final words for us?
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up with what Sheila said, that, you know, when the X-Files started shooting, I was on the same lot up in Vancouver doing a show called The Commish, which was a kind of straight ahead, you know, 5-act TV show, at the end, you know. So it had, you know, it's A plot, it's B plot, the little C story, you know, it was reading, and it was great. I mean, listen, I learned so much on that show, and it was really wonderful. But Nick, who played a cop on that show, he was a recurring character, and I would go over to the set because we made friends with David on the lot. We would go over to the set, and some of our crew people went over to that show, and because they were on location in like hallways, like dingy hallways, downtown Vancouver. And we're like, wait, what is this? Is this like a Scorsese? Is it okay that we're here? And we'd kind of, you know, be visiting, and we'd have to hide, and we'd be like, why is there a light? Why is he bouncing the light off the ceiling? We were shooting on 16 millimeter. Over at the Commish. It's like grainy video. If I had to run on my stocking, I could just put a Sharpie on it. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference. This was 35. It was a movie, and we were just in awe of what John Barrett was doing with the lighting, and what these producers were so visionary. And so we knew it was special. So to then get on it. Usually you don't know when you're on something that is special, except for like you go to a Seinfeld, you're like, okay, Seinfeld, that's ridiculous. But like we knew that this was gonna be. So when I joined in season 2, it was already kind of becoming a hit, but then it became like a phenomenon. But you knew that it was different than anything that was on, and it changed everything. The way that they lit the woods in Vancouver with with these key lights, or I don't even know what they're called when they're that high in the air, half a mile away, just so they could get a little shaft way in the back of the shot. I mean, and in 8 days, the work they did, it was extraordinary. So that just technically, it felt very special and rarefied, and there's a kind of, you know, to be a part of something like that is very humbling and really, really exciting. And then the level of the writing and the actors, of course, it was heaven. It was heaven. It was great. It was it. But the most important thing I have to say is, of every show I've done, and I've been in some things that were, you know, we've all been in things that people were like, you know, Wesley, big things. But these people, you people, from the beginning, and now there's this 2 new generations of people discovering the show, are the warmest, most open, most generous with what it has meant to you. And you have to understand that this is why we do it. And when you're not doing theater and you're not in person, we do it because we hope that somewhere out in the wilderness, something will echo onto someone's heart. And if you're going through something and you see someone touching you, and you say, they're being human, they're being authentic, this is why we do it, because we want to connect through these stories. And so you come and you have the generosity to tell us, guess what? You were there for me, blah, blah, blah. Or I went into forensics because of Dana Scully. And to hear that and be a part of that, especially all the women, I mean, I love you men too, but the amount of women in this show that have reached out to me, it's an extraordinary thing. So thank you.
Yeah, to continue what she was saying about the fans, I had someone come to me today for an autograph, and I asked him where he came from, and he came from a foreign country. He may be here, I don't know, identify him. And he said he started watching the show when he was 11, and I said, ooh, that was a pretty scary show for someone who was 11. And he said, well, I was alone, so I turned the show on and I got hooked. And I said, well, did it scare you? And he went, it saved my life. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, I came from a really bad family life, and it gave me something to love. I mean, I was so moved by that. And I can't tell you how many people have come up, I've only been to 2 of these things, who have talked to me about their moms, and how much my character reminds them of their moms, living or dead, how much they feel about it, how much I've meant to you guys. It's like what Melissa said. That's what we work for. I mean, you get the characters that we've been working at playing and portraying. You say, you did it. And that's what makes it all worthwhile for us. It really does.
Absolutely.
Thank you. You keep it all alive.
Yes.
Yeah.
You do.
Well, thank you all. You mean it.